race car drivers. If you got a glass jaw, then you should watch your mouth. PT's for shizzle manizzle, for shizzle manizzle. My money comes in heaps.
Paul Tracy is at the center of the storm.
And the kids love me in the streets. We're not curing cancer here. We're supposed to race and have some fun.
Green, 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 we are green.
Race leader is in, followed by Paul Tracy.
PT beats him out.
Can't pull out right in front of him. That's cheating.
PT takes the lead.
Around the outside.
Michelle thought he was clear and tried to chop back across.
We've got a 5-second penalty. We need to gap.
Great stop by Paul Tracy. He beats Fernandez out. Can we see Fernandez going for one? Going for P1. Adrian Fernandez takes over the lead.
Adrian Fernandez checking out.
Adrian Fernandez picks up his 8th career win.
It is margaritas for everybody tonight.
We got a fantastic car. We were pushing so hard. Great race.
The sun is setting on the first half of the Champ Car season. It's time to bring up the lights. It's showtime in the home of rock and roll. It's been completely shut down, creating the most unusual racetrack anywhere in the world. Site of round 9 of the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. Welcome to the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Bob Varsha. I hope you're having a happy Independence Day weekend. Welcome to what should be a most interesting and historic race as the Champ Cars go under the lights on a road course for the first time ever. Now, last night here in Cleveland, we were all treated to what we are told is the largest 4th of July fireworks display anywhere in America. And what we have in store for you may be a case of life imitating art, because there are fireworks down in the pit lane as well. Several of these drivers are not happy with one another in the tension of a championship fight. On Thursday, defending race champion Patrick Carpentier got off the track and back on right into the path of the onrushing Jimmy Vasser. The normally laid-back Vasser let Carpentier know he wanted him to use his head. And then Paul Tracy, the points leader, somehow got in the way of one of his greatest rivals, Michel Jourdain, who let Tracy know how he felt. Tracy was not impressed.
I was out of your way. No, not right here. Except you're on the straight away. I moved totally off the line. I don't know what you're leaving here. I moved right out of the way. Where's the center right here? That was passed me at the end of the straightaway.
Well, you get the idea. This has been going on all weekend long. Tommy Kendall once again joins me in the booth. All right, Tommy, Paul Tracy and Michel Jourdain are going for a title. It's mid-season. Is that all that's going on here, do you think?
Well, I mean, it's like this every year. It's just bubbled to the surface. I mean, to understand this fully, you need to consider the unique nature of this sport versus other sports. In the NBA, in any given week, with all the games and all the teams, you might have 29, 30, 40 different winners on individual nights. In any week of Champ Car racing, you have one winner. It is a zero-sum game. At Portland, a lot of what Paul said was said with a smile. Made people think that maybe he was just having a little fun for television. But underneath are very real emotions because of the nature of the sport. You add that to turn 1 at Cleveland with its history, and there's a powder keg just underneath the surface ready to go off.
Well, Portland was 2 weeks ago when Tracy started on the front row. He'll do so again tonight, but neither he nor Jourdain is the real story. That honor goes to French rookie Sébastien Bourdais. On Thursday, Bourdais was off the track more than twice before he got his car back under control. Then under the lights in qualifying Friday night, he put his car on pole with an absolutely mesmerizing lap right on the edge of adhesion, and then garnered the honors of a classic Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Gibson Les Paul guitar. He also picked up 1 championship point, bringing his total to 54, highest-ranked rookie in the series, but only 7th in the overall, behind Paul Tracy, whose points total is now at an even 100 for a 5-point lead over Bruno Junqueira. But Junqueira, the Brazilian, is the only driver in the top 5 who has yet to win a race, and that rankles with him as well. Now let's hear more from our pole sitter for tonight's race, standing by with Derek Daly.
And some of you may know the Newman Haas team this weekend is sponsored by McDonald's. This, in fact, is Carl Haas wearing the latest uniforms that this team will wear for the rest of the season, discussing things here with actor Paul Newman. But now, the serious stuff is over here. The championship fight recently the talk has been between Tracy and Jourdain, with Junqueira thrown in the middle. But last night, I think this young French rookie, Sébastien Bourdais, showed everybody again that if you're going to win the championship here, you may have to beat him to get there. Sébastien, they say timing is everything. Timing last night in qualifying was perfect. You didn't have 1 lap that was good enough. You had 2 laps good enough for the pole. Got to make you feel good.
Yeah, it's make me feeling good. It's right, but the weather is very, very difficult, and it rained like an hour ago, and the race conditions are going to be completely different. So I just expect the car is going to be good for these conditions.
The car will be good, and the crew also believe that he will have a lead foot tonight, because if you look over here, have a look at the symbol. Kermit the Frog is gone. We now have Sebastian's right foot.
Oh, yes, that new McDonald's paint scheme has led to a lot of jokes this weekend. Now, for Paul Tracy, this is a special night. His 200th start, the 5th Champ Car driver to reach that total, following Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Bobby Rahal, and Mario Andretti. The difference between Paul and the rest of that group, they have all won championships, while Tracy has not. Let's meet him now with Calvin Fish.
Well, PT stands by and waiting for his 200th start in Champ Car racing. I guess that means you're getting old, mate.
Well, I don't know about that. I started young. I'm not old yet.
Recently,
I'm not as old as Moreno.
That's true. That's true. Recently, you've been stirring the pot a little bit, Paul, in the middle of a championship season. Is that really a tactical ploy to try and shake these boys up a bit?
Not really. I mean, I'm just trying to be myself and have some fun, and people can take it whatever way they want. But it's trying to make this, have our team have some fun at what we're doing, and not be so corporate and saturated and vanilla. So just trying to have a good time and win some races and have some fun doing it.
The race tonight promises to be a tough one, but tyre conservation has really been a tactic that you've used this year to good effect. You have a lot of tyres for tonight. Is that going to be a factor, do you think?
Yeah, well, we were going to start on stickers, but now since this rain came, we're going to start on a scrub set, because we don't think we can get them scrubbed in on the pace lap. So that kind of didn't help us out very much. But from the rest of the way, I'll have stickers. And then, you know, we'll have to see what happens. There's supposed to be another rain cloud coming in, so it's going to be a tricky race.
All right, PT, good luck tonight. Meanwhile, there's another man who's in the thick of this championship battle, and he stands by with our Derek Daly.
In fact, there's quite a collection of people here. I'm sorry if I can just move in here. He's talking to Mario Andretti, Michel Jourdain. The first turn here at Cleveland, as he got his mouthful of his lunch here, is famous or infamous. How careful do you have to be when you go down there, bearing in mind what happened at Portland, the crash with yourself and Tracy?
Well, I think it's very different, especially, I mean, the first lap, the first corner, it's in 3 years in a row, it claimed my race. I finished, I stopped there, so, I mean, last year we got through okay, and sometimes there is nothing you can do there, you know, so just gotta try to be as smart. I mean, it's so long, the race is so long, and so many things can happen. Even if at some point you see that you are gonna lose a couple of spots, it's better to just admit it, and people are gonna drop out, and people will make mistakes, and you'll get them back. And when you are fighting for the championship, the most thing you need is points, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michel. I do not want to let this moment go by. Mario Andretti, you've been so many times here around Cleveland. This turn one is what everybody talks about. It can ruin your day, or it can give you a big advantage. But you got to mind yourself, right?
Well, that's just the thing. We were just talking about it with Michel. I said exactly the same words, you know, because we keep saying it to ourselves so many times that, and the tempting thing is exactly what you said. Sometimes you could gain 4 or 5 spots if you're in the place where you need to, but then it could be very, very costly. So I tell you what, I would still throw it away and go for the race. It's a long race.
Mario, you're here this weekend demonstrating the new Ford GT. It is just a marvelous motor car. Of course, you have a racing history with this car, so it's a pleasure for you to give people rides this weekend.
Oh, yes, I enjoy that very much, as you know. And it does bring back very fond memories. I did a lot of driving, and not just in the races, but the testing that I did, which really helped me hone some of my road racing skills. And that program was totally beneficial to my career, and so that's why I really love to see that particular car revive now and be part of their 100th anniversary.
Hey, your suntan looks like George Hamilton. Where have you been?
Take a few days off.
And you deserve it too. Thank you, Mario. Thank you.
Mario Andretti, a racing icon, a Champ Car champion, a Formula One world champion, and a 1988 winner here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Now, Paul Tracy has never been shy, and he's never been one to mince words when it comes to playing mind games with his rivals, particularly his rival, Michel Jourdain.
turn one tomorrow at the festival chicane. Always a problem here to get the guys through there cleanly. Big advantage starting at the front, I'm sure, but what do you expect tomorrow in the race?
I'm going to show Jourdain who's the boss at applesauce.
Well, in fact, it was Michelle Jourdain who showed the applesauce to the boss in this light moment at Portland, Oregon 2 weeks ago. Now the race is still to come, and after that rain shower, some of the rubber will be washed off this great racetrack, and that means it will be slippery. But then again, it's been slippery all weekend. Session after session, we've watched drivers as good as Paul Tracy getting it wrong and paying the price. It should be a very interesting evening under the lights here at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland.
CBS Sports coverage of the Champ Car World Series is sponsored by Bridgestone Tires. Advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future.
Of turn one at Burke Lakefront Airport lies ahead. We are now just minutes away from the start of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland. The sun is coming down, but the lights are up. For the first time ever on a Champ Car road course, more than 20 lighting towers from Iowa-based Musco Lighting, throwing the equivalent of 500,000 car headlights worth of illumination on what should be a terrific auto race. Let's take a closer look at this racetrack nestled along Lake Erie in Cleveland, Ohio. Tommy Kendall, how about taking us around?
Well, of course, the unique thing about the track at Cleveland is the fact that most of it is on taxiways connected by, they're very wide open, 8 lanes wide in areas, connected by narrower connector roads. Turn one is where all the talk has been about. You go from 8 lanes down to 1. That is the only slow corner on the whole track. Then it's down to the high speed, right, left, 3, 4, then another combination, 5, 6, into the triple right-hander, 6, 7, 8, heading back to the very fast chicane, 9 and 10, and start-finish line.
With that, let's take a look at our starting grid, powered like the Champ Cars by Ford. On the front row, Sebastian Bourdais and Paul Tracy. The 4th time this season those two have shared row 1, and in all 3 previous races, one or the other has won. Tracy twice, Bourdais once. On row 2, the defending champion here at Burke Lakefront Airport, Patrick Carpentier of Canada, starts alongside Spaniard Oriol Servia, who was 2nd in the previous night race on the oval track in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. On row 3, 2nd in the championship, Bruno Junqueira from the Newman Haas team will start next to Michelle Jourdain, who is just behind him in 3rd place in the title chase. On row 4, Alex Tagliani of Canada will start next to Mexican Mario Dominguez, last year's Rookie of the Year, to Derek Daly.
Okay, I'll give you 2 numbers, 1 and 3. 1, turn 1, could define whether you have a good or a bad night. 3, row 3, Junqueira and Jourdain could be in prime position to take advantage of the first 2 rows if they commence a wrecking.
Thank you, Derek. Moving on to row 5. The 2000 winner from pole, Roberto Moreno, who's been suffering from a virus this week but says he's healthy and ready to go, will start next to 2-time pole sitter at Cleveland, Jimmy Vasser. On row 6, rookie Ryan Hunter-Ray won from pole last year, leading every lap of the Toyota Atlantic Championship race, the top step of the kart driver development ladder before reaching the Champ Cars. He'll be starting next to Brazilian rookie Mario Haberfeld in his first visit to Burke Lakefront Airport. On row 7, Darren Manning makes his first visit to Cleveland. He'll be starting next to our winner 2 weeks ago in Portland, Oregon. Boy, what a difference 2 weeks makes. Adrian Fernandez will start on the outside of row 7. To Calvin Fish.
Well, Bob, last year it was a Reynard that took the victory here at Cleveland with Patrick Carpentier. But you have to go all the way back to the 10th spot on the grid to find Jimmy Vasser leading that Reynard charge. Now, he'll lead 4 of these cars to the green this afternoon. But if Captain America, as we like to call it, can pull off on July the 4th weekend, this crowd will go nuts here tonight. But Adrian Fernandez, as you mentioned, starting 14th. What a difference a couple of weeks, mate. He won in Portland, comes here, really struggling with the car in the late night hours, Bob.
His 10th visit, he's never won here. On row 8, first start for rookie Rodolfo Levine of Mexico, and Tiago Montero of Portugal was to have started next to Levine. He will not. We'll show you why in just a moment. On row 9, Walter Salas of Brazil, a veteran, will start next to Mad Max Pappas of Italy, a great crowd favorite. And on row 10, Jeff Boss from Rhode Island will make his first visit to Burke Lakefront Airport in a Champ Car. Now let's get back to Tiago Montero, driving for Fittipaldi Dingman Racing, co-owned by the great Champ Car champion Emerson Fittipaldi. In the afternoon warm-up, we're used to calling it the morning warm-up, on one of the fastest parts of the racetrack, the rookie got turned around and backed it hard into the tire wall down in turn 8. Although he spoke with those who came out to attend to him, they took no chances. They took him off to the hospital for a CAT scan. It's been determined that he suffered a mild concussion in that backward impact, and he will not be cleared to start the race. Now checking our Bridgestone keys to the race. The track is 2.1 miles around, 115 laps of racing scheduled. 7 right-hand turns, 3 left, so they'll be working those left-hand Bridgestone tires hard. Our maximum pit interval, 26 laps, making it a 4-stop race minimum. Of course, everyone wants to spend as little time in the pits as possible. If you go on an off-schedule strategy, you might stop as early as lap 11 and still make the finish on 4 stops. But the window snaps shut at lap 26. You must have stopped and changed 4 tires by that point. Taking a look at our post-time weather conditions, we have clouds overhead and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. The temperature right now, 77 degrees. That's down from a midday high of close to 90. Humidity is 73%. A blowing to help dry the track. Projected low temperature, 63 degrees. Checking the onboard cameras, you're on board with rookie Ryan Hunter-Reay from Boca Raton, Florida. His teammate in an identical car from American Spirit Team Johansson is Jimmy Vasser, Captain America, as Calvin Fish told us. Now on board in the cockpit with Michel Jourdain. And now on board with Bruno Junqueira, second in the championship, but still looking for his first victory. Also carrying an onboard camera, looking back toward the driver's visor, Oriol Servia in the Vistillon car from Patrick Racing. And finally, Patrick Carpentier is wearing our visor cam, giving you a driver's eye view of this very flat and featureless airport circuit. It's very hard to find braking points and turn-in points, Tommy.
And I noticed a number of the guys on the onboard cameras were trying to see how much grip the track has. Even though we had rain just a little while ago, the track looks completely dry, at least online. But the grip level could have changed. So by stabbing the throttle, working the wheel back and forth, they're trying to feel how the grip is before they see it in green conditions.
Mario Andretti in the Ford GT special pace car for this event has pulled in with the other safety cars behind him. Sebastian Bourdais from Newman Haas leads Paul Tracy from Players Forsyth off for the final corner. They'll pair up side by side. Flagman J.D. Wilburn waves the green. We're underway, and look at the way the field spreads out, headed for turn 1.
Junqueira has gotten all the way up next to Carpentier. First several rows through cleanly. Servia and Jourdain go around Carpentier.
Still 2 and 3 wide through turn number 5. Oh, Jourdain goes all the way around. Spinning his wheels on the wet grass.
That's all right. Get going. Get going. It's still green. Still green.
I think what happened there is he stabbed the throttle to try to clear Carpentier, carried a little bit too much speed into that next left-hander, and the back stepped out as he went over the crown in the road. The runways are crowned, meaning when you go over the center, past the center line, it's sloping away slightly, but enough to affect the car.
There's Oriol Servia. Paul Tracy leads the race.
Tracy got around Bourdais somewhere on that opening lap.
And that's the 4th time this season Paul Tracy has led the opening lap. He immediately opens up a big gap over Sebastian Bourdais, nearly 2 seconds at the start-finish line. This is turn 3 and then 4. There's a good look at Bourdais, the French rookie who says fast laps in qualifying are my specialty. Boy, did he ever show us that last night. Aboard with Bruno Junqueira in 3rd. The only rookie to win here at Cleveland in 21 previous Champ Car races was Juan Montoya. Now Juan Pablo Montoya racing in Formula One with the Williams team. Back in 1999, he won here. Calvin Fish.
We understand Alex Tagliani may be having some electrical issues. The car would not fire up as the field took off from pit lane here. They had to change the battery, I believe, to get the car back underway, and he reassumed his position in the field, but right now we're hearing he may still have some issues out there.
There's Tagliani in the Johnson Controls car, blue with the orange accents. He was 9th at the end of the previous lap, 11th at the end of the one just completed.
Now, the sparks you saw coming from Alex Tagliani's car on the straightaway have nothing to do with the problem. Those are the titanium skid plates. The cars, when they're heavy with fuel, run a little bit lower, and when that titanium hits the ground, it throws titanium sparks.
That's turn 8 with that camera is planted. As you see, a concrete wall there, really the only turn on the track where a mistake will cost you dearly. Paul Tracy has extended his lead out to 2.7 seconds. Here's another look at the start from above.
You see Bruno Junqueira coming down the inside right there of Carpentier. Paul Tracy swings out wide to cross back underneath, and that's exactly how he got around Bourdais. Bourdais slid a little bit wide. Paul had set up to the outside, crossed back under. I don't even think Paul thought it was going to be that easy.
Here's another look. Boy, Alex Tagliani was in the middle of a Champ Car sandwich there.
See Paul Tracy way on the extreme right of your screen, crosses under when Bourdais skids wide. Tracy.
That's veteran experience right there.
It is, and Paul has done that year after year, usually starting in the back, trying to miss the trouble. And there it is, exactly like I was saying. Jourdain gave it a jab of throttle to clear Carpentier, but had a little bit too much speed going into the left-hander.
Another look. Oh, wow, boy, that was lucky Carpentier didn't get into it.
Good evasive action by Carpentier.
From above.
Look how close that was.
Oh, I don't know how Patrick Carpentier managed to avoid Michel Jourdain. Now on board Michel's car.
The reason he revs the engine like that, not in the grass, but the reason he revs the engine like that, he keeps his foot in it. That allows him to spin to the inside of the turn rather than spinning off to the outside.
Let's get more on Alex Tagliani's situation. Derek Daly.
Here with Johnson Controls team owner Paul Gentilozzi. Tag appears to have some trouble. We understand it's not electrical.
No, we had a battery before the race that went bad. We replaced it, got in the grid. Dominguez went inside just after one. They touched. And, of course, as a driver, if somebody damages the front of the car, you're going to be careful. He backed off to make sure there was no serious damage. Now he's racing again. We don't see anything too major. We're going to hope. I don't want him to do anything that can hurt himself or somebody else.
Thank you, Paul.
Tagliani is running at the same pace as the cars around him. Calvin Fish.
Well, one thing to really think about with the wideness of these straightaways here, what the drivers can actually do is run wide enough outside, like what Paul Tracy did to Sebastian Bourdais on the start there, and the driver in front cannot actually see in his mirror where he's gone. You actually lose the guy behind you, and I think PT had that set up. He came down, he ran wide immediately, and then just swung underneath him. So a great piece of experience there in running on these wide open flats here at Cleveland.
Had a glimpse of the setting sun over Lake Erie. When it fully goes down, you won't believe how these cars sparkle in the light equivalent to 500,000 car headlights.
Now the Pacific Care car that we're on board with, even though it's painted differently than Bourdais' McDonald's cars, these cars are both run out of the Newman Haas stable. Technically identical. They were extremely strong last year. Cristiano D'Amato won the championship in the car that Bruno's driving now. And they've kind of been starting to gel. Bourdais had a lot of success early in the year. Junqueira, who everyone expected to be quick right away, it took longer for the team to understand his personality quirks, if you will, in the terms of driving style and how to give him what he wanted in the race car to make it handle to suit his style.
Bruno Junqueira continues on his way, and the sun continues to set. We'll take a break and return to Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. Of television, starting with Yes Dear Front Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Calvin Fish, and Derek Daly. Glad to have you with us for round 9 of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford. Paul Tracy leads Sebastian Bourdais.
And you saw that the trouble the camera had adjusting, looking straight into the sun. The drivers have to do the same thing when they go through the chicane onto the front straightaway and then going through turn 1. Ordinarily, you run a dark visor to help you with that. But because it's going to get dark, either the guys are running either a very light smoke or a clear visor. So until that sun gets below the horizon, that's something they'll have to contend with.
The leaders have completed lap 10 of 115 scheduled. There is Paul Tracy. He has led since lap 1.
It's interesting to note, Paul expressed concern at the start about maybe not getting his sticker tires, which he thought were going to be an advantage, scuffed in properly on the pace laps. It looks like he was able to. If anyone had trouble, it was Bourdais, but now Bourdais, who was 2.5 seconds behind, look how much he's closed up on Tracy. Been running about 2 to 3 tenths of a second quicker per lap, and has now cut the gap to just over 1.1 seconds.
Remember, the early pit window for the first of an anticipated 4 pit stops opens on lap 11. That's the lap we are working right now. So we don't expect the leading cars to pit, but some of those further back might. Look at the gap the 2 front runners have opened up. Now there is Darren Manning from Walker Racing, currently running 14th, and he might be one of the early pitters. Calvin Fish has more on why.
Down here with Derek Walker. Darren seems to be struggling a bit tonight. What's the problem?
Yeah, we don't have the car quite as good as we'd like. So a bit on the loose side, and he's got an electrical shift mechanism isn't working quite right, so he's not able to speed shift as much, so he has to keep lifting to shift. That's losing a bit of time, but it's a bit loose.
Can you take advantage of the early pit window opportunity to maybe try and make a change there?
Yeah, we'll try to keep correcting it all night long. Just hope there's plenty of pit stops to do it.
Okay, well, there you hear the word from Derek Walker. Also, one of the other Reynard boys, Jimmy Vassar, is using a water bottle in the cockpit tonight. We understand that's punctured, so I'm not sure if it's feet or in his lap, but not comfortable.
Oh, my. You just watched Michel Jourdain coming back from that early spin on lap 1. He just got around Max Pappas to move into 11th place. Now, the lap Paul Tracy just led was the 3,000th lap led in his career. This coming in his 200th career start. So it's an evening of round numbers for Paul Tracy. Now let's get more on Jourdain with Derek Daly.
Bobby Rahal is here watching everything closely. Bob, we spoke about turn 1 so many times, yet halfway through the first lap, Jourdain gets it wrong and loses it. In a championship hunt, how costly might this be?
Well, it's a long race yet, and numerous guys have won this race from being last early on, so I'm not too worried about it. He's passing people and going fast, and as I said, it's a long, long race, and he was just trying to, he made a great start, and, you know, I think maybe got into some water, I don't know, but I'm not worried about it. He's doing a great job.
Thanks, Bobby. Of course, one of the advantages this team may have is they are in pit number 1, which means they have a clear drag race all the way to the first corner after every pit stop. That may play out as the race goes on.
It is the longest pit exit you'll find anywhere in the world. They basically go down the taxiway all the way to the connecting road before they rejoin the racetrack. It's also very safe. Now, you heard Bobby Rahal say it's a long, long race. Well, it was actually a lot longer back in 1982 when the Champ Cars first came here, and Bobby Rahal, who grew up in Ohio, won that race. He's also finished second 3 times and third twice. But as a team owner, which has gone on for more than a decade now, Bobby Rahal's team, ironically, has never won this race. Here's the man who would like to change
and
that.
Rahal is correct. Jourdain, once he got clear of Max Pappas there, is running a time exactly equal to what Paul Tracy ran at the front of the field. So ordinarily, track position was very important, but with the new banning of traction control, the cars are able to race much more competitively. Passing not nearly as big a challenge, still tough, but not impossible like before, which bodes well. Added to the speed that Jourdain is showing, he's going to need some yellows probably to bunch people up, but it looks like he has the speed if he can get a few breaks.
7 seconds behind the leader. Your lap times are looking pretty good. Pretty good.
That's Oriol Servia getting information from perhaps the most experienced team manager and crew chief in the business, Jim McGee. Servia has been on quite a run. He has a career high in terms of top 6 finishes, and we're not even halfway through the season yet. See the colors of the flag of both his native Spain and the part of Spain from which he comes, the very independent-minded Catalonia province. We're beginning to see dark clouds to the west again, and that's where the weather comes from here in Cleveland. We may see more rain before this one's done. Right behind Oriol Servia in fourth is Patrick Carpentier, the defending champion here in the Grand Prix of Cleveland, and he's wearing our visor cam.
And we saw Patrick lose positions. He got by Bourdais briefly on the opening lap. Then Bourdais, Juncker, and Servia all went around Patrick Carpentier. And Patrick had an accident training on his bicycle, ran into a stationary truck of some sort, and he hasn't felt the same. He says he's been very, very sleepy. He confided in me this morning. He said, I think I actually probably have a mild concussion. Had he been telling the doctors that instead of me, they might have held him out of the car like they did Thiago Montero.
Whoops. Jimmy Vasser pointing the wrong way, and someone is off driver's left. One of the Air Dance competition cars. Roberto Moreno, the 2000 race champion. It is.
That was down in turn 1.
And we have a full course yellow. He's in a dangerous position on the outside of turn 1. So the yellows come out for the first time on lap number 16. Jimmy trying to alert the crew as to how the car felt as he heads for the pits. And he'll have lots of company.
I would expect virtually every single car, now that the pit windows are open, these guys are kind of locked into this strategy. They can still make the rest of the race on 3 more stops.
There is Paul Tracy. Will be the first car back on track. I believe Sebastian Bourdais might be the second. Whoops! Lighten up that right front Bridgestone as they make the turn. You can see the puddles still there, not completely dry. There's Patrick Carpentier. There's his teammate Tracy. They may notice during Sebastian Bourdais' stop in the McDonald's car that the crew members were wearing minor-style lights on their helmets.
Driving really well, set a nice pace. We got brand new tires for now.
We have an awful lot of light on the racetrack. We don't have an awful light in the pit lane, but several teams have erected their own lights to throw a little more on the subject, you might say. Let's go to Derek Daly.
Paul Tracy on the scanner, which I monitor through his mother Vivian, who's in the pits here, said the car is okay. They made no changes. One of the keys to Paul Tracy's race that he believes will play into his hands, he has 4 brand new sets of Bridgestones. This is brand new, a set on the wall, and this set here. He did not want to use these in qualifying yesterday, last night, and gave up a chance to potentially beat Bourdais for the pole. We'll see if that little advantage becomes big as the race goes on.
And you also saw the treaded wet weather tires there. We may yet need those.
We are going to show you 1 finger this time by. 1 finger this time by. Copy?
That's Neil Mickelwright talking to Paul Tracy, saying he's going to be given the 1 finger. Unlike sometimes when you're given 1 finger, here it means there's 1 lap to go. They'll turn the lights out on the safety car. When they get around towards the backside of the course, the safety car will sprint away, create a gap, and then Paul Tracy will be in charge of the field.
That's Kelly Williams instructing the drivers from the passenger seat of the safety car. Patty Hughes-Mayer is driving. There's Sebastian Bourdais. Let's get more with Calvin on him.
Well, it got pretty hectic down here by the time I got down to Bourdais' pit. Craig Hampton, his engineer, was flat on his back. Apparently, one of the crew members actually elbowed him right in the face there and took him down. So they're trying to get him back on the headset here and recover here and start to talk to Sebastian again.
Be a little dangerous down there in the pit lane, sometimes in the most unusual ways. You see Craig dabbing at his nose with a towel there.
I think he's icing it.
And there you see one of the crewmen with that light on his helmet. Very high tech. Something else you might notice in motorsports, crewmen who wear those helmets over the wall for safety like to put their driver's paint job on. It's a real sense of unity. Now let's see if we can figure out what happened between Jimmy Vasser and Roberto Moreno to bring out this yellow flag. It's Moreno leading Jimmy down into 1. Vasser goes under.
Wow, that Jimmy, made a move for the inside, but it was fairly late. I mean, they were already in the braking zone. And then once he was committed, he had a hard time getting it stopped. Moreno took his line, clipping the apex, and Jimmy at that point really had no choice. The wreck had already started based on where he decided to brake. The engine stopped when the rear wheels lock. At that point, again, once he decided to brake that late, the wreck was on. It was just took a little while for it to happen.
see any bending in the upper wishbone of that suspension, but that is certainly not conclusive. We'll take a break and return. The clouds continue to build over Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport and the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland here on CBS. I'm Bob Varsha with Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, and Calvin Fish. Glad to have you with us. A great crowd on hand and a beautiful summer's night with a strong threat of rain showers. We've already sat through one today.
You saw right before Paul Tracy accelerated, Bruno Juncker in the third-place car popped out of line. I think Paul Tracy was probably playing a little bit of games, doing a little bit of a brake check before he hit the gas for the final time.
There is Michel Jourdain in the red and white Gigante car. Team co-owned by Bobby Rahal and CBS late night host David Letterman. Jimmy Vasser running behind him. Jourdain is up to 9th. He started 13th and charged through to 4th at Laguna Seca in Monterey, California earlier this year, so he knows how to work traffic. Now on board with Ryan Hunter-Reay, and he is working traffic as well. Hunter-Reay up to 7th.
Fernandez jumped underneath him, but slid a little wide.
Walter Salas, the Alpina car from Dale Coyne Racing. That, I believe, is just on the exit to turn 4.
Apparently the throttle has broken.
See if they throw a yellow flag. He's well off the racing line there. I wouldn't say he's in harm's way unless someone has one of those Michel Jourdain style spins. Paul Tracy with Sebastian Bourdais, the pole sitter, trying to claw his way back up. Bruno Junqueira, Bourdais' teammate, runs 3rd.
Yellow, yellow, yellow.
And now the yellow flags come out. For the second time today, this on lap 20. There's Salas. Has his visor up, which is an indication to the safety crew that the engine is stopped. Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Well, the 2000 champ, Bob, is out of this race. Roberto, he had such a strong run going this weekend. What exactly happened down there with you and Jimmy? Did you see him coming?
No, I didn't see him at all. I knew he was getting closer to me, so it was going to be just a matter of time. He passed me. But one of the things when you're running towards the night, it's very difficult to see the car behind. I just didn't see him at all. I'm sorry, I don't know whose mistake was, but I just did not expect that move at all.
How were the track conditions out there, Roberto, tonight? Did you have the car working well? Was the balance good? Was there good grip?
The car was fantastic. The crew has done a great job for me. The head-ass competition team was 10/10 this weekend. Roberto wasn't 10/10 this weekend. I had a flu on Monday, and I just be on the recovery mode every day. The doctors and nurses at the CAT Medical Center were able to put me up to speed and get me up running, so that's the only reason I was able to be strong in race.
Well, certainly this team is coming back. They had an excellent showing over in Europe with 2 podium finishes with Mario, and both cars running strong this weekend, Bob.
Hang on, Roberto. He led 91 of 100 laps back in 2000 en route to the victory from pole. There's Oriol Servia making his way around. Derek Daly has more on him.
Oriol Servia had a reasonable pit stop. It was slow because the air pressure, which pressurizes the valve that opens the fuel tank, did not work. They couldn't get the fuel in. They eventually did fill it up. It cost them 1 position to Patrick Carpentier.
And this is exactly what Michel Jourdain needs. Little short stretches of green where he's able to get by a car or two. But when you're getting by cars, the guys in front of you are on a clean track, able to run quicker, and they get spaced out. So once you get by a guy, it ends up being a long ways before the next guy. This is working out perfectly, having a yellow, green, yellow. Now he's right behind Ryan Hunter-Reay. Have a chance to try to jump by him and maybe Dominguez on the next restart, but Jourdain already up to 8th place.
Right now, Jourdain runs in the 8th spot, Hunter-Reay in 7th. Now, like the Ford Cosworth engines that power all of the Champ cars, all of the drivers are on the same compound and spec of Bridgestone Racing radial tires. And this is a very important weekend for Bridgestone. Here's a little bit more on why. This is basically a home race for Bridgestone, and some 700 guests, employees, sales associates, and dealers are on hand. You may recognize them by those red hats. The green flag is ready. It flies, and we are back underway. Tracy Bourdais looking down the inside, but he's not close enough.
It's going to be interesting when we see some battle shaping up there at the front. The new rules that Chris Neifel has laid down regarding driver etiquette and blocking. It used to be you were allowed to defend with one move. Now there are no moves allowed, meaning if you're leading the race, you have to leave that inside 8 lanes wide open. In the prior support races, there was lots of passing and repassing as a result. If Bourdais can pull himself up onto the back of Paul Tracy gets into traffic or makes a mistake, he doesn't have the ability to defend like he did.
Chris Neifel, the chief steward for the Champ Car Series, assisted by Bo Barfield, Tony Kester, and Jim Swintal, who used to serve as the flag man for the series. He's now moved up to race control. Oh, Jourdain, control issues. Charging at you. Look at the bumps in this taxiway leading to pit in. And turns 9 and 10. There's Jimmy Vasser. American Spirit Team Johansson, owned by Stefan Johansson, former Champ Car Rookie of the Year and Le Mans winner, 24 hours in France.
Tagliani down the inside of Manning.
That's for 10th. Board with Bruno Junqueira running third behind Paul Tracy and Bruno's teammate Sebastian Bourdais. Derek Daly.
As you look at Bruno Junqueira, just before the restart, he complained to his team that Tracy was doing stop-start, and that Sebastian almost crashed. What he didn't realize is Tracy has brand new tires, and he was probably using the stop-start aggressive moves just to scrub those brand new stickers.
I'm not sure that's all he was doing. The timing was a little bit too big of a coincidence. If it happened all the way around the lap, that'd be one thing, but the biggest stop-start happened right before he took off for good, and we saw pop out of line when Bourdais had to hit the brakes. And just for clarification, that is, it's a gray area in the rules. They're told to maintain a constant speed. A little bit of jockeying is normal and is accepted, but if it gets too extreme, it causes some chain reaction behind. The chief steward will keep an eye on that.
Look how flat the track is. Very difficult for the drivers to decide where to brake and turn in. Quick complex of corners coming up.
Bourdais right in front of Bruno is not pulling away like he was on the first stint.
That is the spot where rookie Thiago Montero backed it into the tire wall in the warm-up this afternoon. He's now out of the race and standing by with Calvin Fish.
Well, the good thing he's standing here in his driver's suit. Thiago, I know you're ready to go. You felt you were ready to go. What is the procedure that they put you through to determine whether you're good or not?
Well, you got to go through some tests on the computer, reflexes, memory tests and stuff. Some tests that we do before the season begins, and after a crash, you're supposed to redo them. And of course, the results have to be similar. Apparently, for some reasons, some of my reflexes were not 100% yet. Doctor said they will be all right in a few hours, 1 or 2 hours, but it's still a bit too early to get back in the car. If anything bad happens again, it can be dangerous. So everything is fine now, and it's just in security, just in case of anything bad happens again.
Okay, mate, well, it's good to see you have a smile on your face. I know you'd rather be out there, but we'll see you in Toronto.
So it's a DNS, did not start for Thiago Montero, currently 4th in the Rookie Championship. CBS Sports coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland will continue after this message and a word from your local station. In order to put Simon Cowell in that job. Would have been my candidate. Back at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, the sun has fully set and the lights are coming up to full strength, bathing this 2.1-mile airport circuit in light. Now the cars sparkle.
And with the new fuel windows, one of the key differences key difference is in how these races are run. There is no fuel conservation, so the pace is absolutely flat out all the time. So physically, much more demanding. It used to be they could back off and they were saving fuel to try to have shorter stops or go laps further than everybody else. The fuel windows get rid of that. They can't go beyond a certain lap. So what that does is it means the drivers have to run absolutely 10/10ths all the time. Now, after that restart, Paul Tracy was starting to inch away from Sebastian Bourdais, but the last lap, Bourdais started pulling it back in. 2/10ths that lap, almost 3/10ths this last lap. And you can see this accordion battle.
Whoa, Adrian Fernandez way sideways.
I expect that pace to take its toll on the drivers physically before the night is up.
It's been a rough weekend. Winner in Portland 2 weeks ago. The team was still elated as they arrived here in Cleveland. And Adrian says they just cannot get the car to work over the bumps, and there are lots of them here in Cleveland. Look at Sebastian Bourdais closing up on the race leader. As we mentioned, this is Paul Tracy's 200th career Champ Car start. To commemorate the occasion, 200 cyclists joined him for a couple of laps of the racetrack earlier today. The folks signed on for the ride on the internet. And in addition to being chosen to ride with Tracy, who, truth compels me to say, was running in the back of a pace truck, they received a free ticket to tonight's race.
That was a real theme today for Paul. He was in his bus most of the day keeping tabs on Lance Armstrong, who he has struck up a friendship with after donating his proceeds from the Most Popular Driver Award last year to Lance's foundation. Spent some time with Lance in Las Vegas during the off-season. And today, of course, was the prologue, the start of the Tour de France.
Running in 9th place, Alex Tagliani. We talked about him earlier, perhaps having some problems with the car. Paul Gentilossi said once he figured out that everything was okay, he was going to get after it. That's what he appears to be doing. Derek Daly has more.
Paul, your driver Alex looks to be pretty aggressive. Did I hear you gave him some orders?
Well, you know, when you're in 12th place, there's no reward. So you got one of two things to do: suck it up and race, or come in and park the car. I gave him the choice.
Hey, that's it, black and white, boys.
Paid to put your foot down. Paul Gentilossi is a great guy. I know he puts up a tough image, and he is a terrific racer in his own right. 3-time Trans Am sedan, third winningest driver in the long 38-year history of that series. First year as a Champ Car team owner.
He brings up an interesting point. You know, Alex was complaining about a misfire. You're falling back. He had a decent qualifying position, starts falling back. At some point, from a driver, you can lose your motivation. I think Paul, in his own little sort of maybe not so subtle way, jump-started that, maybe got Alex a little bit fired up, maybe not too happy, but the effect is he's going forwards.
Good job. Great lap.
61.081 was that lap for Fernandez. Actually,
top 5 cars, your lap times are pretty good. Copy.
Precisely my point. He was about a second and a half off Paul Tracy's lap. So apart from the fastest cars, you're doing okay.
I'll tell you, that pace up front, they're down into the 59.6 seconds for Paul, 59.7 for Bourdais. And Tagliani, the only other driver in the 59s.
That's right. Responding to his car owner's demand, Alex Tagliani turned in a faster lap than the 8 cars ahead of him.
The seesaw up front is amazing. Tracy will run a 59.6 to Bourdais' 59.8. Last lap, Tracy's 59.8 to Bourdais' 59.4.
8 laps to go to the next pit stop. Here's a look at the fastest laps thus far. Paul Tracy's provisional pole time on Thursday was a 58.4. Gives you some idea of how fast these guys are lapping. Doing this track in less than a minute is really hauling the mail.
And Bridgestone has really changed the face of the way these races are run. It used to be just accepted that race tires, when they get worn, they start slowing down. In Bridgestone's, because of their magic and the compounding, in a couple races we've seen this year, they've behaved about like you would expect. But almost everywhere else, the tires absolutely do not slow down. So as the cars burn off fuel, even if it's only as little as 5 or 6 pounds, that shows up.
+0.7.
That shows up in quicker lap times.
To give you an idea of what speed is like, Sebastian Bourdais' pole time of 58.0 made him the only driver in the field to lap at an average speed, even with that very slow turn one, at 130 miles per hour.
That overhead shot showed a difference in the lines between Paul Tracy and Sebastian Bourdais, and also shows what's so unique about this circuit. The runways are so wide, there are literally an infinite number of lines or arcs you can take, and there's certain hard points, the apex of the corner, where everyone's clipping. But how they get from the turn-in point to the apex is drastically varied. Most courses, the line doesn't vary between drivers by more than a couple feet. Here you saw in that overhead, Tracy was arcing it in a little bit wider later turn, whereas Bourdais was turning it early so that he could brake a little bit more directly, kind of almost right at the center.
Cole, good work. Fuel window is open. Fuel window is open.
Paul Tracy getting information. Meanwhile, running back in 6th spot, Mario Dominguez, last year's Rookie of the Year and winner in Surfers Paradise. We'll get an update on him shortly.
You see a little bit difference in arc. Tracy arcing it in a little bit, very similar to the lap before. And the difference there is Bourdais is allowed to brake a little bit later because he turns in and then goes straight brakes, and then he has to do a little bit more turning later on. Paul might be a little slower getting in, but it'll set him up a little bit better for that left-hander where Jourdain had trouble. That was part of what Jourdain's problem was. He was on the left. It makes the left-hander tighter.
Paul looked a lot smoother through there. Now there is Mario Dominguez. Let's get that update.
Down here with Keith Wiggins, managing director and one of the owners here at Herdez. Since Europe, there's been a lull in your fortunes, but this weekend the cars look a lot stronger, Keith.
Well, I think we steadily built up through all of the races, and obviously Europe was the higher point. And that's where we should be. I think we went through a couple of races where we weren't as competitive as we liked, and we had to go testing and go through a few things and just, you know, look at what we've done, make sure we're on the right track, and we're pretty happy that we're back where we should be.
With your experience here at Cleveland, Keith, I mean, we're now feeling a few sprinkles of rain. If it does turn wet this evening, what's this racetrack like in the rain?
Well, I don't think we've... I'm hearing two things. I don't think that we've run here in the rain, but I mean, it's got concrete, it's got cement, it'll be slippery, but it'll be the same for everybody else. So.
Right, mate, well, good luck. We understand that the taxiways in particular, if it does rain here, where they transition back and across between the two runways, is particularly treacherous, talking to some of the guys who have some experience here.
On board with Michel Jourdain, making his way around. We're just 5 laps from another round of pit stops. We'll take a break and return for more from Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. Independence Day weekend in Cleveland, Ohio. City with the largest lakefront of any in the world. And from the flats to the Jake to the track by the lake, this weekend, Cleveland is buzzing as the Champ Cars come to town for the 22nd year. Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport, working lap number 42 of 115. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Tommy Kendall, Calvin Fish, and Derek Daly. For round 9 of the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. Here's a look at our race summary. 1 leader since the initial green flag. That man has been Paul Tracy. No lead changes. See the average speed over 113 miles per hour. 2 caution flags for 4 laps, both for spins or cars losing power. No accidents thus far. Here comes Paul Tracy. The race leader is in for his second pit stop.
Watch your speed in the pit lane.
Bourdais just behind him. This will be a pit stop race. Calvin Fish.
Well, we understand that both Newman Haas cars will expect one turn of front wing. Sebastian Bourdais hits his marks as Poiti comes in further down pit lane. Bruno Junqueira just skirting around the outside of the number 2 car. Tires it down, front wing is down. Let's get down to Derek Daly.
And he gets away with a perfect stop. Bourdais is second behind him. Carpentier will not put on sticker tires. They are scrub tires, and they make a wing adjustment.
Look at the flaming exhaust coming out of the back of Michel Jourdain's car.
All right, there you go. All right, Dominguez on your right.
Derek Daly mentioned a straight shot out of his pit stall.
still green.
Some more exhaust flames from Alex Tagliani's car.
See the headers glowing red?
Oh, yeah. These are turbocharged race cars. Those turbos spinning at thousands upon thousands of revolutions per minute, getting them to extreme temperatures, helping to generate 750 horsepower or more from these 2.65-liter engines. Darren Manning attacking Tagliani. Wheels interlock through turn 4. We talked about this in other races, Tommy. This is when you need to jump a guy, if you can, on cold tires.
The opportunity is the greatest, but the risk is also the greatest. The tires, not only they're cold, the pressures are lower, so they're actually softer. The cars are running a little bit lower, sometimes bottoming out more against the ground until the pressures build up and lift the cars. This is where they really earn their money.
Manning staying right there at Tagliani's gearbox through 9 and 10 and on to the start-finish straightaway.
Okay, your tyres look good already. Manning's becoming a pain. Let's get after the car in front.
Manning second in the Rookie of the Year chase for the Jim Truman Award. He's chasing Sebastian Bourdais, who leads that championship. Notice that red light they've put on the roll hoop. That's where we put the onboard camera atop the roll hoop. He's not carrying one this weekend, so the team has put that light there to help them pick out his car on the racetrack, or more importantly, in the pit lane.
I wonder if that's a Terminator-style laser scope. Puts the red dot on the gearbox in front of him.
Oh, Rodolfo Levine inside Mario Haberfeld in a battle of rookies.
I've cracked on Rodolfo a little bit this year, but he has had a really nice weekend. Been in the top 10 in a number of sessions, and then going by probably the highest regarded rookie outside of Sebastian Bourdais in Mario Haberfeld.
As you see, it's a battle for 14th. The long run in from corner number 8. Though the cars look somewhat graceful going over those bumps, the drivers have to work hard against that steering wheel. This is a very physical racetrack.
If you listen in the onboard, those bumps are severe enough the cars actually get airborne. The wheels will jump in the air a little bit. The engine will free rev slightly.
Now the battle for third. Bruno Junqueira, the Pacific Air car from Newman Haas Racing. Just behind him, the defending champion, Patrick Carpentier.
Bruno was really staying with Bourdais at the start of that stint, but as the stint went along, Tracy and Bourdais, when they were challenging each other back and forth, quick lap to quick lap, they were able to pull out about 8 seconds on Junqueira, who's fallen back into the clutches of Carpentier.
Here's our Ford telemetry. This is what the teams are seeing. Transmission gear on the right, miles per hour in the middle, engine RPM on the left.
This is the long triple right-hander, right out against the edge of the road, back in. This is off a runway, onto the connecting road, taxiway, back onto another runway. Hear the engine rev when the rear tires hop off the ground. There's a rev limit that will catch the engine from over-revving in normal conditions, but if it comes off the ground and the wheels
Great job, Pat. You're getting him. Keep going.
The wheels have so much inertia, it can overdrive that rev limiter. The rev limiter cannot catch it quick enough. Another thing that brings up is the load. Every time the wheels come off the ground and the wheels spin freely, when they come back down, it puts an incredible amount of torque on the half shafts and all the transmission shafts.
Saw him touch 172 miles an hour before taking turns 9 and 10, a right-left flick at over 100 miles an hour. Now notice the light standards on either side of the track glowing brightly. Derek Daly has more on those.
Bob, last night, after the really dark session, the last session, I asked Fernandez and Jimmy Vasser, are there any problems? They both admitted yes, they were having trouble seeing as well as they had liked. Vasser had the LASIK surgery sometime last year, and Fernandez, who wears glasses, said the glare was so bad he was having trouble with his depth perception. I wonder, did Jimmy potentially have trouble with his vision because he took a big lunge that time earlier inside Moreno.
Good question.
One area where the Musco engineers worked really hard between Thursday and Friday night. They were here till 4:30 in the morning. The far part back at turn 8, all pointed out when we get there, they were not able to see the left edge of the track very well. When we were on board with Servia, it was very well lit.
On board with Ryan Hunter-Reay, the rookie. His first visit to Burke Lakefront Airport in a 750 horsepower Champ car. Calvin Fish is with his car owner.
Stefan Ryan's having a great evening out there. It hasn't been an easy time for him, but he keeps bouncing back.
Yeah, he's doing a terrific job out there right now. He's got the 3rd quickest race lap. He's done a great job all weekend again. So, you know, hopefully keep it up here till the end of the race and pick up a few more places.
Jimmy survived the bump, kept going, but on the pit stop, it looked like he lost a little bit of time. Anything happened there?
Yeah, we had I don't know exactly what happened. We lost the wheel nut, came out of the gun or something on the left rear, and we lost 2 spots there, which doesn't help us, obviously. But, yeah, I think he's bent the steering arm because the car is pushing a lot, he says. So, you know, we just got to battle on and see what happens.
All right, well, Captain America is going to try and hang on there to that rain out, try and get it further to the front. Bob?
That's right, Jimmy Vasser and Ryan Hunter-Reay, both in Reynard chassis, built in England, developed here in America.
Steering arm would be right there where he made contact with Roberto Moreno, and it doesn't have to be bent much. And what that will do is it will affect the toe. Toe refers to how the wheels are pointed. Toe in is generally how you like it, just slightly pointed in. If that alignment gets out, it'll affect how well the front grips. And by push, he means when he turns the wheel, the car doesn't quite turn as much as he's wanting it to. The front end's basically sliding a little bit along. We're heading back to that part of the track where they really worked on the lights. It's turn 6, 7, and the left edge of the road right here is where they were having trouble seeing it. You can see it's very well lit now. But watch how much steering lock. His hand's right up at the top of the wheel, and he holds it much longer. If the car was behaving well, he'd start unwinding that wheel sooner.
They also painted the edge of the road that you were just talking about, TK. The officials from Musco Lighting and the Champ Car officials were out there till 4 in the morning on Friday trying to improve the racetrack and the lighting situation for this event. Sequential gearbox. Pull it backward to go up a gear. Forward to go down a gear. Now that fella pictured is John Wayne, who was a fueler for Stefan Johansson's team. Notice that helmet? That design is very familiar to Champ Car fans. It once belonged, in fact still does, to Alex Zanardi, a 2-time kart champion who suffered disastrous injuries that ended his career in a race 2 years ago in Germany. He came back, finished that race. You saw it here on CBS earlier this year. And as Wayne moved from team to team, he kept the helmet colors of the man he once serviced as a crew member, Alex Zanardi. We'll take a break and return with more of the Grand Prix of Cleveland from Burke Lakefront Airport, approaching halfway. Monday on The Late Show, Dave welcomes the one and only Bruce Willis, plus world champion poker player, and I'm not making this up, Chris Moneymaker. Monday, right here on CBS, America's most watched. And right now, you ride at Burke Lakefront Airport with David Letterman's driver, Michelle Jourdain. Already a winner this year on the Champ Car Trail, currently running in 6th. Paul Tracy has his hands full up front. Sebastian Bourdais was able to pull up right to Tracy's gearbox after Tracy was balked by a slower car. Let's go back to the battle for lead. Now Tracy able to pull a car length or 2.
Plus 0.4.
And that's just exactly why you work really hard to, even though it doesn't look like much, just a gap of 1.1 to 2 seconds over second place gives you just enough latitude when you catch a slower car to not have to lunge by in a desperate move. You can afford to wait maybe, big lockup.
That will give Bourdais another opportunity, but it seems whenever Paul has a clean stretch of racetrack, he can open up just a little bit of a gap. Let's get more on Bourdais with Calvin.
Down here with Craig Hampton. And Craig, first of all, how are you feeling?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. It was just a pretty good hockey elbow to the nose. Felt like I was in the Canadian pits, I think.
Ready for Toronto next week. Right now, if Seb can't get around Paul on the racetrack, do you consider a short fill to try and jump around him on one of the pit stops?
Well, we've got to consider it. Unfortunately, there's not a real short fill to do because of the first yellow has made the remaining stints of the race pretty long, so we can't add a real small amount of fuel. And there's downsides to the short fills as well. There's a pretty good chance we may just be conservative here and try and get a good finish. We've had a tough time finishing races, so it might be, as much as I want to win, a second wouldn't be too bad either.
Okay, well, certainly 2 podium finishes got away from them the last 2 races. But let's get down to Derek Daly.
See the leading cars here. Tracy has hardly said a single word tonight on the radio. That is good because he's happy with the handling of the car. Now, the cooler the evening gets, the more understeer all of these cars seem to pick up. Jourdain and Carpentier, I saw them add on more front wing. Carpentier has actually radioed in. He's having trouble with his brakes. And Tagliani does have a bent front steering arm. The team know that, but they keep pushing him on.
Tagliani continues in 9th. We're on board with Carpentier. As Derek said, apparently having a brake problem. Go back to Craig Hampson. I mean, a hockey elbow to the nose in a pit scrum is a lot better than a soccer foot to the nose.
And he mentioned something, a short fill. Say on the last 2 stops, they calculate that he needs, say, 70 gallons of methanol. If you could split that up differently, you could say, we're going to take 35, that probably isn't a good example, 35 on one. Say you need 65. Here, I'm doing math on the air. Say you need 65. You can take 35 on one, which is a full tank. You only would need 30 on the other. Ordinarily, you would split it up evenly so you have equal length stops. But if you gamble, say, we're going to take 35 here and only take 30 on the last one, the car will be stationary, fractionally less, maybe give you a chance to hop around him on the pits. Now, talking about Paul Tracy, there's a good reason he's not saving anything. The pace these guys are running is mind-boggling. I'm watching, it's just, the pictures don't tell the whole story. Unless you see the scoring monitor and see these guys trading fast lap back and forth and back and forth, this is absolutely qualifying pace. You're going to see 2 very tuckered out drivers at the end of this.
4 cars out of the race. Jeff Bosk, Walter Salas, Roberto Moreno, the 2000 race winner, and Tiago Montero, who did not start after a heavy backward crash in the warm-up.
Now that lockup we saw Paul Tracy coming off his right front, it was at this part of the course where I had been explaining the difference in the lines. And you see how much Bourdais closes up. The risk of running the wider arc into the corner that Paul Tracy is running is you're turning for longer. And you're actually braking while you're turning. That light tire wants to lock up. Bourdais is turning a little, going straight, braking, and then turning again. You don't run the risk of flat spotting a tire. But the payoff for Paul is if you get into the corner without locking it up, you have a better arc through the left-hander.
Adrian Fernandez down the inside of Jimmy Vasser for 11th. Now we're hearing word that Vasser may have a problem. A slow leak in his left rear tire. He's 12 laps from a pit stop. This could be a very tough one to soldier out. Looks like Rodolfo Levine in the Corona car swapped ends.
Okay, I didn't touch anything. I'm okay.
I'm okay, and I didn't hit the fence.
Okay, you need to get him to push start you then. Just get him to push you.
That was a scary moment from the cockpit, I'm sure. Oh, big lockup there from Max Pappas, it appears. It's Pappas in the PK racing car.
It's always harder for the first car through that.
Full course yellow.
Now we've got a full course yellow now, our 3rd of the evening. So the safety crew can go out and attend to Rodolfo Levine. And there is the safety crew. A push start, as you heard, may be all he needs. So this will hopefully be a very short yellow flag. Let's take a look at what happened to Levine.
When he stepped on the brakes, the back end stepped out, and the outside of the left rear wheel got in the dirt, lost traction, snapped around. Servia had just a fraction. He's trying to do the same thing. He's got a lot of weight on his front end. He can't just jerk the wheel hard to the right without risking doing the same thing.
I mentioned officials painted the edge of the racetrack to help the drivers find it at high speeds. I think he got those left side wheels onto that paint. May not have been completely dry. That didn't help his situation. Should be a pretty easy push start, but it looks like they're going to give him a heck of a lunge. Okay, we'll try a pull start.
Okay, they're going to try and bump you using the rope. Okay, bump you using the rope. Remember, second gear. You're in top slot 4. What's the reason for that? Do you have wheel spin?
Great place to park your motorhome. Come out and watch the race. There you see his location. The far end of the straightaway leading to the pit in.
Now with the maximum number of laps being 26 laps between which they have to make their stops, they have to go to at least lap 63 in order to make it on one more stop. So I would not expect any of the leaders to come in here unless they had a problem.
You see the pit windows. Lap 63, the third window opens. Closes at lap 78 if you're going to do it on 4 stops.
There's a few cars between you and he, and then Patrick is P4.
Now, Oriol Servia, of course, is carrying that onboard camera looking back at his face. He was the man who just slipped through. Let's watch him. Levine is spinning ahead of him. There's Levine in the background. Like a fighter pilot in a dogfight. Next piece of business.
No, we don't have a reading on
Notice a few of the drivers coming by our position with their visors up. A little cool air. Jimmy Vasser is in. Calvin Fish awaits him.
Well, Jimmy's just taking advantage here. Stefan Johansson was shaking his head when he saw the telemetry to see the tire pressure going down. So this is really a break for Jimmy. Don't see any other chases. Waiting for fuel. Good clean start by the American Spirit team.
Vasser making his way down that long pit exit. About a quarter of a mile before they turn in at turn 1. There is Paul Tracy. CBS Sports coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Back to Burke Lakefront Airport, just past halfway. Paul Tracy is in the lead as the green flag comes out, and we are back racing. Tracy has clinched the championship bonus point for most laps led in the race, making his total 101, leading the Champ Car Series as we continue to work round 9.
And Bourdais a little slow getting up to speed. His teammate Bruno Jacquer behind him, pulling up quite close. Actually, if I've seen any weakness at all, it has been that Bourdais takes a few more laps to really get into his rhythm. Tracy builds a gap, and the rest of the stint is spent with Bourdais, maybe on average a hair quicker, pulling him back in, but not enough to really make a huge dent or pull up and try to get by.
7-7.
It was Paul Tracy asking how many laps to pit. Neil Mickelwright, his team manager, gave him the answer.
One of the reasons he asked that is we've already established that the pace is pretty much 10/10. If there's anything left, it's in those last few stops that all the guys, Paul Tracy included.
Oriol Servia swung wide at turn 1. Then Michel Jourdain Jr. pounced. Jourdain, who spun to the back of the pack on the first lap, is now up to 5th. Servia will have to compose himself.
Servia having trouble getting his tires hot, it sounds like. Really had to wait.
Let's have another look. Here's the orange car, second car in line. Just couldn't quite get it slowed up and turned in. Jourdain pops through underneath for the position from onboard Servia.
Hear the engine go quiet like that. That is the rear wheels being locked. The car being in gear, it also stops the engine momentarily when he lets us put off the brake. The wheels spinning, start the motor.
Now Servia continues to lose positions. Mario Dominguez goes past him. He's got a problem with that car.
Yeah, I heard him really having to wait where Jourdain spun earlier. Servia really had to feather the throttle and get out of it. Seemed to be having trouble getting the temperature and the grip in his tires.
This is Ryan Hunter-Ray. That's Servia up ahead on the road.
say about Tracy is these laps leading up to the pit stops are very important to build a gap, even if it's only a second, which is right what it's at right now, 1.1 second. That gives him a little bit of enough time to, even if Bourdais does a slightly shorter stop, if his team's on its game, he should be able to have enough time.
1.3, plus 1.3.
The other 2/10 he's pulled out on Bourdais. And all year long, early in the season, Bourdais had all that speed, those poles early on, but we never seemed to see these two guys matched up head-to-head for a straight-out fight. Early in the year, it was pretty clear to me that Bourdais and his Newman Haas Lola had more pure speed than Paul Tracy. Tracy was winning the races by taking advantage of things, not making mistakes. But I thought that Bourdais had the speed. As things went along, it seemed like the players guys got their act together, and now this seems to bear that out. They are every bit the match, at least on this day, for the McDonald's car.
Quick update on the players team. Tracy has a tiny bit of understeer, but only in traffic. Not enough to make a change in the next pit stop. Jourdain has more and more understeer. They will give him more front wing when he makes this stop.
The reason the temperature...
1.4, look at your pit board, look at your pit board.
The reason the temperature changed, there's many reasons it can affect it, but one of the main ones is as the temperature cools off, the air gets denser. All those aerodynamic surfaces on the car, the center of pressure, or where basically that's the average of where the front wings and the rear wings and the underbody, where that pressure is located. As the air gets cooler and denser, the center of pressure tends to move back slightly, pushing down a little bit more on the rear tires than they do on the front tires. So that's why you saw Bourdais' crew add a couple turns of front wing a few stops ago.
Here's a replay of Adrian Fernandez looking underneath Darren Manning. Manning having none of it. Fernandez can't get the car turned, gets the left side wheels off. Continues in 11th place. So look at the drivers moving up. Max Pappas, we haven't called his number much tonight. He has picked up 5 places. Ryan Hunter-Reay 3, same for Darren Manning. And for Adrian Fernandez, Shakira has picked up 2 spots from where he started. There's Max Pappas. The Scientific Atlanta car for PK Racing. He has had a very busy couple of weeks. Got in this race car, replacing Brian Perna, who drove it in Monterey, California. But Max had other commitments. After that race, he tested the car, after the race in Portland, that is. Tested the car, then drove a sports car race at Road Atlanta in Georgia. Catch that, TK?
If we pit you right now, we can keep in front of the leader. Give you a clear lap.
Getting back to Max. Quickly the decisions have to be made. Those cones mean you're either in the pit lane or you're not.
What that consideration was is they were being held up, it looks like, by Max Pappas. So they were considering, even though they didn't have to stop because of the fuel window, if you're being impeded and you have to make a stop within the next few laps, why not stop, get away from the guy who's slowing you down, hoping that when you come back out, you'll be on a clear track. Once he got around Max, he had the clear track, so they changed strategy.
2 laps to pit. Getting back to Max Pappas after racing the car. He had tested the car, then raced a sports car at Road Atlanta, then tested the Champ car some more, and then came on to Cleveland. Mad Max has been keeping up a crazy schedule. Hasn't seen his home in Miami in some time.
Okay, Paul, I want you to pit this lap. Pit this lap. +1.
1 second over Bourdais.
Craig Hampson say that they were going to opt on the conservative side. I think that applies for them only. If you've been watching Sebastian Bourdais, he is not being conservative in the least, using every racetrack, in some places more than I've seen him hang about a third of his tire off the outside edge of the racetrack. As long as the really solid part of the contact patch doesn't go off, you can get away with that in the slower speed corners, like exiting turn 1.
Turn 8 they come. The skyline of downtown Cleveland in the background. They head for the pit lane. Calvin Fish.
Well, Sebastian Bourdais should hit his marks first just because he's a little closer to his pit spot right now. We expect another front wing change. Understeer seems to be inherent in all of these cars this evening. Sebastian hits the marks perfectly. Bruno comes around him once again, and the McDonald's boys go to work here. Tires are done. Slight front wing change waiting on fuel. Let's go to Double D.
Tracy is in. Brand new sticker tires go on. Fuel is in. Away he goes. Drag race. Oh, Bourdais beats Tracy out.
And takes a position. Bourdais assumes the race lead once Jimmy Vasser, who's the leader on the road, cycles through his pit stop. This is for the race lead.
I wonder if Craig Hampson was lofting up a softball, hoping that the players' guys were maybe monitoring the radio. Maybe they went for a short fill.
And there you see the crew high-fiving all around. Let's see if we can look into that a little bit. Pull a fast one to get their man out front on the pit stop.
The other side of that is if that was the case, their next one theoretically should be slightly longer.
The upper left of your screen, you see the running order. A red box under the position number means that driver lost positions in the pits. Black box means he held them, and a green means he picked up at least one spot. Vasser picked up a bunch going to the race lead, but of course he will have to stop at 16 laps. Let's take a closer look at that pit stop sequence. There's Sebastian Bourdais. Meanwhile, Paul Tracy is in his pits up ahead. There is Tracy moving, but too late to keep the Frenchman behind him. Here's a good angle. Now, 2 weeks ago in Portland, Paul Tracy lunged all the way across the pit lane to keep Michel Jourdain behind him and wound up being penalized 5 seconds on his next stop for doing so.
That came up in the drivers' meeting. Paul Tracy asked Chris Neifel, there are no lines painted on the pit lane. How do we know which is the middle lane and which is the outside lane? Chris Neifel didn't exactly, he says, that's a good question. He didn't exactly answer him, but in that case, Paul did the wise thing. Not only would it have been illegal, it would have caused
Right now, Jimmy, you're P1.
I'm not sure if that was a wisecrack or not from Jimmy Vasser, the race leader. 15 laps from his next pit stop. But flying down the road, the fastest man on the track that last lap. We'll be back. All new Big Brother with new house guests and one big twist. We're moving in some of their exes, too. Brace yourself for the X Factor at one explosive summer of television. Big Brother premieres Tuesday at 8, 7 Central on CBS, America's most watched network. Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport, now totally in darkness. As the last of the sunset drifts away. Jimmy Vasser is the race leader, but he's due in the pits in 4 laps. We have 34 laps remaining in the race. Sebastian Bourdais made some adjustments on his last pit stop, and he has been absolutely flying, each lap hovering around 59 seconds.
He's been making changes. Actually, the last 2 pit stops, they've been adding front wing both times, and we heard the complaint from Paul Tracy. They had slight understeer, but didn't feel it was enough. But I think with the track continuing to gain grip as the rubber goes down, also getting slightly cooler, I think that might have been what finally cracked. The pace they were running, they were matching each other lap for lap. Neither could get the edge. I think what's finally given is perhaps Tracy has picked up that push, and now he is not able to run the pace that Bourdais has. Consistently 4 to 5 tenths of a second slower. The gap between the two now over 7 seconds.
This group of cars, Oriol Servia is 8th. Ahead of him, Mario Dominguez. Ahead of him, Michel Jourdain. And ahead of him, Patrick Carpentier, who has some slight damage to his left front wing end plate. Meanwhile, there's the race leader, Jimmy Vasser. His team has been complaining about slower traffic holding him up, not getting out of the way.
Okay, let's pit right now. We're going to go on tires, 4 tires and fuel.
So Jimmy will come in rather than stay out there being held up.
And it's the same car that was holding up before. It's Max Pappas. being out of sequence like Vassar was, for this strategy to do some good, he had to stop because he had the flat tire, but he could almost make good on it if he was able to run enough really fast in a row. Now he's heading for the pits. You see Bourdais.
Jimmy, pit.
Now Bourdais will have to deal with Pappas.
We're going to pull on the tires. Oh, we have 4 tires of fuel.
As quickly as Bourdais is running, I'd be surprised.
Thanks a lot for getting Pappas out of the way. We will.
That was Jim suggesting they contact the chief steward to send along his regards.
Fuel, Jimmy.
Well, Jimmy Vassar's in. Stefan Johansson was absolutely fair, as he said. Those back cost us 1.5 seconds a lap. No changes there. 4 tires and fuel. He will need to pit again to get to the end with the 26 lap window.
And he comes back out on track. Checking the running order. He's got a lot of cars coming down into turn 1 chasing him. It's Adrian Fernandez. That's Alex Tagliani. So slot Jimmy into 10th place. He can keep Tagliani behind him.
And that is really frustrating. I mean, Jimmy's as cool as they come, and he just threw in a sarcastic comment. And the rule is such that you see Jimmy struggling to get it before his tires are up to temperature. Tagliani gets around him with his tires at operating temperature. But the rule is if a guy's holding someone up clearly a lap car, the chief steward is supposed to give him the blue flag. If the guy does not yield at that point, they can be penalized. But Jimmy was behind Pappas for a number of laps, and no such luck to get him to move out of the way.
That operating temperature of these Bridgestone tires is up around 200 degrees.
Around 200 degrees Fahrenheit, yes.
Aaron Manning goes by Jimmy Vassar. This is getting worse. Jimmy drops back to 12th and has all kinds of steering issues. There's your race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, still behind Max Pappas. Now, in Max's defense, he is a very fast driver, but PK Racing is a brand new team formed just literally weeks before the season began. This is a Lola chassis. They don't have the setup data on it, and they've been struggling all year long to make it work. Finally, Bourdais gets by Pappas.
Craig Hampson was absolutely furious. He said, put it on the air, put it on the air. PK Racing will not get Max Pappas out of the way. He was just up in arms over here, and Kenny Seawick is really working hard with the car officials. He's going ballistic as well.
Seems to be a trend down in the pit lane.
I know Max prides himself on just fighting, but there's a reason he's getting lapped. It's because he's been quite a bit slower. And I mean, it would be one thing if he was fighting to stay.
It's Craig Hampson and the crew.
It'd be one thing if you knew you had a fast car, something had put you behind, and you were hoping for a yellow to bring you back to the tail end. But if the reason you're getting lapped is just because you're slow, when you're in front, you'd expect the same courtesy. There'll be a day where Max Pappas will be wanting the same courtesy. If it's Sebastian Bourdais, probably won't give it to him.
Pappas is a proven race winner. He will be fast again. There's second place. Paul Tracy will check the interval next time across the stripe. Bourdais has crossed it.
Paul, on our next set of tires, we're going to put in a little bit higher cold pressure, okay?
6.3 seconds the gap.
So that cost, being stuck behind Pappas, only cost Bourdais maybe a second.
Okay.
A little higher cold pressure, perhaps meaning they'll be workable a little quicker.
Yep, they're, that's maybe to counteract if the stickers that they had worked so hard all weekend to conserve, now they're having to maybe compensate for the fact that they aren't coming in as quickly as they would like. A little bit higher starting pressure. They build pressure as they get hotter. They have a target in their mind where they want to end up. The risk if you start with a higher cold pressure is that they can build too much and be not as good later in the stint.
They're going to step on the tires a little bit, as the drag racers say. Shakira headed for the 910 complex, coming around to complete lap 87. There's Patrick Carpentier, defending race champion. He also won the Champ Car stop at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, a few hours south of here. Will be there later this season. He was the king of the Buckeye State last year. Now he's got that problem with the left front corner. Derek Daly has more.
Patrick Carpentier, as we know, is nursing a sprained wrist. Well, the job got even tougher because this, which is a downforce end plate, it's made of carbon fiber, it bolts onto the side of the end plate of the front wing. He hit a curve and he sliced it all the way down through here. Instead of being horizontal, it is now vertical, standing right up here, which reduces his downforce and increases his drag.
That extra steel strut that you saw, or stainless steel strut, perhaps that was going up, was still attached, so it just did around that. You might get a look at it here.
It's completely
broken away now.
Yeah. And took with it that sort of gurney flap right in front of the left front tire. Here's Michel Jourdain. Currently in 5th. Once again, fighting his way back.
L5, no deca punta.
Is it Spanish?
Okay.
Spun on the first lap of the race, went to the back of the pack, and now runs 5th. Another great run for Team Rahal. Last year, he scored points at the rate of about 5.5 per race on average. This year, he's scoring points at the rate of nearly 12 per race. A huge improvement for the 26-year-old driver from Mexico. He started in the Champ Cars at age 19. The final pit window opens on this lap.
Well, once we got to that lap 89, that meant that the guys could stop at any time and make it to the finish and not extend that 26-lap window. And immediately, Kenny Sequin said to the boys, we're in the window, set up and get ready. If we see a yellow flag, expect the leaders to pit immediately. Otherwise, they'll probably stretch it another 5 laps. We understand Adrian Fernandez is in pit lane. Derek?
Well, they hope he gets to pit lane. He is so short of fuel. Here he comes in. He's just about rolling down. Fernandez, they're not going to make any changes. Scrub tire's going to go on. Adrian is not wearing his glasses. Interestingly enough, remember what I told you earlier about last night with the glasses he found it difficult to see? He is not wearing them tonight. Peels in, away he goes.
Work on that out lap.
Work on that out lap. 40 years old is Adrian Fernandez. 2 weeks ago in Portland, I said he was 38 because that's what his bio in the media guide said. Lo and behold, his fiancée told a reporter in Portland he's actually 40. And when questioned, Adrian had to admit it. But he said, I feel like I'm 20. He'll be right back to Cleveland. Lakefront Airport in the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland. The race leader, Sebastian Bourdais, is pitting for the final time. Calvin Fish awaits him.
Craig Hampson went to Kevin Chambers. He said we need one good solid stop here. There shouldn't be pressure on these boys. They can take a little bit of time, a little extra time. They got a good lead over Tracy. They've done it for the 4th time tonight. Waiting on fuel. They get the thumbs up. Everything looks good. Good clean stop in the McDonald's car. He's back underway before PT hits his marks.
We watch Paul Tracy go by our announce position. Let's go to Derek Daly.
And Tracy has seen Bourdais go by. Tracy has taken a drink. He has taken a nice cold drink. There he goes on brand new sticker tires. But he has a mountain to climb now.
This is Bruno Junqueira's pit at Newman Haas Racing. Junqueira still in 3rd place. Tracy lights up the right front Bridgestone, turning back out. Here comes Junqueira, who's had a quiet night, still looking for his first win of the season, holding on to 2nd in the championship. This is Jourdain.
Here we go. Right, Mario on your right. Race apart, still green.
Mario Dominguez leads his countrymen back onto the racetrack. So Dominguez picked up a spot over Jourdain on that pit stop, and that is unusual. That Team Rahal group are the 2-time defending champions in the annual Craftsman Pit Stop Challenge. Servion cold tires. So we understand he may have had contact with Mario Dominguez during that pit sequence.
Servio running in 8th. That's Jourdain in front of him in 7th. Dominguez in front of him. Carpentier running in 5th at the front of the picture. You said Tracy has a mountain to climb, more than a mountain. That was an absolutely stunning stint by both Sebastian Bourdais, and I think it was aided a lot by the changes they made on that final pit stop. They broke this race wide open.
19 laps to go.
11 seconds in hand over Paul Tracy when he pitted.
On board the Gigante car, Michel Jourdain. Gigante is a Mexican supermarket chain. It's opening stores on the west coast of the United States. So the Champ cars are an ideal marketing device for them. There is Bourdais in the McChamp car, or the #2 combo, as we've been calling him this weekend. Calvin Fish.
Well, we were laughing with the crew. We were saying, well, hopefully he doesn't get a drive-through this evening. But talking about the tyres, situation, I asked Craig Campbell, I said, do you have good tyres? He said, these are the pole position set of tyres. So I said, they should be good. Then he said, well, they're good enough for the pole.
There's Carl Haas, cigar in hand, more or less.
Who obviously took off the uniform he was wearing earlier at the top of our show.
Careful, Derek. 7th race led of 9 in 2003. This guy has had the greatest impact as a rookie in Champ cars, I would say, since former Formula One world champion Nigel Mansell back in 1993. Here's that battle that Tommy was talking about earlier. Carpentier, Dominguez, Jourdain, Servia.
This year with the new form of Mario Dominguez, we were going on and on saying how remarkable it was, how he was the biggest surprise of the first part of the season. Well, digging in a little bit deeper, you probably need to look no further than his engineer, Brian Maw. And those two guys hang out together a lot away from the racetrack, really spend a lot of time, really clicked, about the same age. And Brian Maw arrived during the offseason. A lot of people attribute it to Roberto Moreno arriving as part of a second car on the Herdez team, but I would attribute at least as much, if not more, to Ma and Mario Dominguez's relationship.
Oh, right side wheels off. Servia. This is for 7th. And here comes Jourdain to return the favor. Gave up the corner when he saw that Jourdain was alongside. Mario Haberfeld being lapped again. That Brazilian rookie, surprisingly slow tonight. He is 3 laps down. Obviously having a problem in the MyJack Conquest Racing. This is that 170-mile-an-hour blast down to turn 9. Jourdain consolidates the position. He'll want to move up again.
16 laps, 16 to go.
Premiering Wednesday here on CBS. Thousands of men will try to win the heart of America's most eligible woman. But first, they'll have to make it past her 2 best friends. From American Idol's Simon Cowell comes Cupid. Premiering Wednesday at 10, 9 Central on CBS, America's most watched network. We ride with Michel Jourdain. We've had 4 different winners in the last 4 races. And the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. Should Sebastian Bourdais hold on to win, he will be the first repeat winner in the last 5 races. Most recent win in Germany on the big Euro Speedway Oval. We'll be back to the road course in Cleveland. A guy torments millions of Americans with crossword puzzles. Wonder no more. Find out. Watch 60 Minutes tonight. Back at Burke Lakefront Airport, 11 laps to go. The Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland. And Sebastian Bourdais at this moment appears to be firmly in control with nearly a 12-second lead over second place Paul Tracy. Another 8 seconds back to Bruno Junqueira. 18 seconds behind him, Patrick Carpentier. And 3 seconds behind the Canadian Mario Dominguez, rounding out the top 5. We ride with Oriol Servia, currently in 6th behind Dominguez. to go. Next time by. There is the leader, Bourdais, looking for his 3rd win of the season. Only 7th in points despite winning twice. That because he's had so much trouble finishing races when he's not winning. He got out of the car in Portland after his latest failure and said, we just can't get a result here in the States. His 2 wins came in Europe, the road course at Brands Hatch in England, and the big super speedway in Germany. Now, Jimmy Vasser
Gianni's got trouble with a lapped Papis, so beware. Papis is lapped.
Vasser just pitted a few moments ago. Came back out at the back of this battle for 4th place between Carpentier, Dominguez, Serbia, and Michel Jourdain. Tried to hang with that group down into turns 3 and 4 and wound up going wide and almost off the track. Right now, his teammate, the rookie,
as I said, car in front of Tagliani is lapped. Papis is lapped.
Teammate is behind him. Tagliani looks down the inside of Papis, the subject of those radio communications. Michel Jourdain going around the outside and letting Max Papis know he didn't appreciate the effort it took to finally get by him. Papis is a lap down, as you heard, and running in 13th place, just outside the 12 points-paying positions.
At least he's treating everyone the same.
Well, I actually feel for Mad Max. This is a very, I think humiliating is not too strong a word, position for him to be in. He has a new engineer, John Ward. The team will get it figured out. These cars are very complex. They can be very difficult to set up. It takes a very experienced, organized approach to get the most speed out of them. There's 7 laps to go. Next time by the flag stand, and we will stay with you to the checkered flag. Huge crowd on hand here. There'll be a big party in downtown Cleveland tonight.
8 laps remaining, 8 laps.
Even though Vasser was held up behind Papis, has come back nicely from that slowly leaking rear tire and the bent steering arm from the contact with Moreno. A very eventful race for Jimmy.
I'm sure that communication he just got was correct. There are 7 laps to go, not 8. Wouldn't be the first time a race team miscounted laps.
The difference in intensity. It's subtle things, but compared to last year when they were saving fuel all the time, rarely did they run flat out in race conditions. Here, there's just also without the traction control, just a lot more steering input. You can just tell the intensity from the cockpit is just a couple notches higher this year.
Guarantee when the drivers climbed out, our winner will be bathed in sweat. It's his hard work in these conditions. Sebastian Bourdais has lapped up to 12th place. Adrian Fernandez. There's Paul Tracy in second.
Plus 8, 6 to go.
As you look at Paul Tracy here, his personal trainer, Jim Leo, is here. There was a feature story about Jim in the newspaper today, but he made an interesting comment. He thought Paul Tracy is aerobically as fit a racing driver as there is in the world today. Specifically, he gauges that on Paul's workout ability on a bicycle. I thought that was a remarkable comment to make by Paul's personal fitness trainer.
As Tommy Kendall mentioned earlier in the show, Paul has struck up a friendship with Lance Armstrong, who is, as we speak, battling for his 5th consecutive victory in the Tour de France, perhaps the greatest athletic challenge in the world. Paul has lost 35 pounds under Jim Leo's tutelage over the last year. As Derek just mentioned, he is incredibly fit aerobically, capable of 2 hours of the equivalent of pedaling a bicycle at 22 miles per hour. Calvin Fish.
Just checked in with Peter Gibbons on Bruno's progress this evening. He said, we just had a little bit too much understeer all night, been trying to dial out. He said, also Bruno's been having trouble seeing. Visor's been fogging up, and also his drink tube to his mouth has actually been spraying up on his inside of his face shield. Let's get back to the track, action on track.
Thanks, Calvin. That's Adrian Fernandez, and that is Sebastian Bourdais, and we believe those two just had contact. I mentioned that Bourdais had lapped up to Fernandez. He was closing on him. Fernandez is now a lap down, but it might not have been the most elegant pass we've ever seen. Let's have a look from overhead. Third car goes down the inside. Oh, that's contact that hit some. Whoa!
We're getting reports that Bourdais may have a cut tire.
Oh.
You can see the flugelhorn in front of your tire has broken. We'll circle it right there.
Yep.
It does not look like it's cutting into the tire. It will be costing him some downforce. He has plenty of time in hand.
That lap that he just completed was 4 seconds slower.
The car is okay. The car is okay.
Well, he thinks the car is okay, but Paul Tracy is now 4 seconds quicker. And the gap is down to 7.7 seconds. Here comes Tracy, who will no doubt be informed of Bourdais' collision with Fernandez via the radio.
I think it was clear Adrian did not know that Sebastian was right alongside, or at least that close, started arcing in for the corner before Sebastian did.
I heard Adrian say on the radio, I let him go by. Doesn't quite tell the whole story. Jimmy Vasser has spun in turn 1.
Sorry about that. Lock up the rears.
Bob, you were saying if Adrian's anything like you without his glasses on, it would affect his ability to follow
Yeah,
the
tough
yellow.
day. Good job, dog.
Oh, my. There's the reaction in the Newman-Haas pit. Craig Hampson looking around. There are the yellow flags for the 4th time tonight, meaning the gap will be essentially 0 between Sebastian Bourdais and Paul Tracy, with very few laps to go. In fact, they're going to have to work quickly to get this cleared up to give us a green flag finish. Calvin Fish.
Down here with Craig Hampson, the last thing he wanted to see, mate, was a full course yellow. It was the full caution is the last thing he wanted to see. What's the situation with the race car? Is it damaged?
Yeah, the under winglet vane, which is probably 100 pounds of downforce, something like that's hanging loose. I don't think it's rubbing on the tire, but I mean, this is going to pull Tracy up right behind us. They'll get any lap traffic out of the way, and Tracy will have 1 or 2 laps to take a shot at us. And we've got a wounded race car. We just have to do a good job and hold Paul off here.
Put into perspective for us, Craig, lap time-wise, 100 pounds of downforce, what does that cost you?
I'm not sure I'd want to quote right now. I think more than anything else, it's just going to be down to Sebastian versus Paul.
Derek Daly.
We've got a chase here. Neil Mickelroy, team manager for Paul Tracy. Newman-Haas said they have a wounded car. Can you put your attack dog in motion here and take advantage of it?
Well, certainly we're telling him that there is the potential for a problem with Bourdais' car. We looked at Bourdais' last lap, and it wasn't too bad, so it might just be a skin wound or a flesh wound, I guess.
Is Paul as quick as he was earlier, Neil, or has he slowed down?
No, the car is pretty much the same. I think we were able to control the pace, but we're going to go green this time by, so I'll have to get going.
Hang on to your hollyhocks.
Oh, yeah. Lights are out on the safety car. They yanked Jimmy Vasser's stranded car out of there in a hurry. This will be a 1-lap shootout. And you saw that Flugel flapping around just in front of the left rear tire of Sebastian Bourdais. That is a real threat.
And there goes Bourdais.
I'll call the green flag to you, Sebastian. 1 lap to go. Nice restart. Bring it around. Get it going.
Now this will test the young Frenchman's driving skills to the max.
Green, green, green.
1 lap to go.
He got a good jump on Paul.
White flag. 1 more lap, Sebastian.
Paul Tracy has to be careful. He's got the very aggressive Bruno Cecchera just behind him.
He pushed wide. Tracy pushed wide coming off turn 1.
Will Bruno take a run at him? Yes, he will. First and second in the championship. Tracy will counterattack and get fully alongside and retake the position.
What a move.
Here comes turn 5. And Bourdais is gone. On board with Junqueira, Tracy ahead on the road. With that gap, he may have missed his best chance. There's Bourdais, who simply launched over the horizon. And his 3rd victory, both of the season and of his career, lies in front of him. Welcoming his new sponsor on board with victory. Well earned by Sebastian Bourdais.
Good job, guys. Good job. We deserve this one. Yay. Great job. You guys had marvelous stops. You drove the wheels off it, kid.
Burn them off it now. The second time this race has been won by a rookie. Juan Pablo Montoya did it in 1999, and like Sebastian Bourdais from pole. 71st victory for Newman Haas Racing.
You're going to stop at the podium, the same place that you were introduced. Bring it down.
Sebastian Bourdais, 7th in the championship coming in. Here's his car owner, Carl Haas. Paul Newman is certainly somewhere in the area. Bourdais is suddenly a threat for the championship. We'll be back. Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport, and look at the fog on the glasses of Sebastian Bourdais, who somehow found his way around at 130 miles an hour or so to win for the 3rd time this year. The 3rd victory here for Newman Haas Racing, following in the tire tracks of Michael and Mario Andretti. But the first time the team has been on the podium here since 1999. Derek Daly is down there in the midst of that scrum.
I'm trying to make my way past Ronald McDonald himself here. I don't think he's ever had celebrations like this. Look at the man himself here, right beside Sebastian. What a combo here. Sebastian, you look pretty whipped. Sebastian, you've run the Le Mans 24-hour race, but doubtful 4 times. I'm not sure it was ever at this pace. Like he is absolutely shaking here. What a performance, Sebastian.
Yeah, it's been a very tough race. I was always in the tail of Paul. So that was very difficult because when you follow a car, it's a lot hotter than when you are by your own. I finally succeeded to open a bit my race suit because I had not enough air in the car, and that was very difficult. So you know, the track is really physically demanding because it's very bumpy, and we had obviously a very good car, so it was really grippy and with a very heavy front steering wheel.
You now jumped to 5th in the championship, but tell us about the incident with Fernandez when you hit him at the end.
I have no idea what happened. I mean, I was inside. It just lifted, and I chose the inside, and basically, I don't know. It probably turned, and we touched each other.
Paul Newman comes in here to congratulate him also.
Look at the rear tire.
Paul is impressed by the rear tire because can you see this here? Can you see what's left of this Bridgestone? That's not how they normally finish. That is because he tortured it doing those. Were they donuts, Bob? I didn't see them. Or were they French croissants?
I think they were closer to croissants. They were nice and round, though.
They were hot and plentiful.
What a drive on a difficult day. Calvin Fish is standing by with the runner-up.
Paul, that was an incredible pace, but the real key moment of the race was after that 3rd stop and the 4th stint. I mean, he really put the hammer down when he got around you.
No, he really did. I mean, I was doing everything I could do, and, you know, it's all track position. If we'd have got out in front of him, maybe we could have held him off. But he was definitely faster than me on that third stint. And, you know, it took me a while to get going. It took me like 6-7 laps before I could get in the 59s. But I tell you, the pace was fast and very tiring race. And it was, I hope it was a good show for the fans.
Absolutely it was. Talk about the last couple of laps. You got the opportunity there with the caution, then the restart, but he took off, and then you had Bruno pressing. You guys were side by side there for a couple of corners. That was exciting.
I went in a little wide in the first turn, and I looked and I saw Bruno there, and I was like, oh no, he's going to make a big move. And he came down the inside, and we braked super late, and he ran wide on me, and then I squared him up and got around him. So it was a good fight.
Okay, well, congratulations, Paulie. Extends the championship lead here this evening with a second place finish, Bob.
And there's the move that Paul Tracy was talking about. Inside, outside, a great dice for second place.
Now this is why Paul Tracy is loved and why he also disappoints so much. This is an extremely low percentage move. It's the kind of moves that win races, but it's also the kind of move that often lose championships. Going around the outside here, where Jourdain had that trouble on cold tires, absolutely breathtaking stuff. He pulls it off, but that could easily end in tears with a big points consequence.
And the two guys, the top two guys in the championship, throwing it all out there to try to get one position. Great stuff. Let's hear from him now with Derek Daly.
With Bruno Junqueira here, who looks actually remarkably fresh. That was quite a race, but particularly that last lap, Bruno, you and Tracy.
Yeah, I try everything to pass him. I really passed him, but I thought he was going to give my X on the exit of 4. And I kind of slowed down to make sure I have a good exit, but he came outside and get me. What a shame, but it was fun. The Pacific Air crew did a good job. We had a good car, not fast as Sebastian, but I drove the race for the points, and I was waiting like a yellow in the end to try to pass Tracy and push Sebastian. I was good with cold tires, but after I built up a lot of understeer, I didn't have the speed of Sebastian and Tracy.
Well done, Bruno. Go enjoy the celebrations. Thank you.
Gracious words from Bruno Junqueira, who remains second in the championship. 8 points to Paul Tracy, who keeps his lead. But as Derek mentioned, winner Sebastian Bourdais jumps up to 5th in the title chase. Top 3 finishers are making their way to the podium, and look at that crowd enjoying the post-race celebration. Somewhere down there, it's time for final thoughts, beginning with Derek Daly.
Well, top of the show, I said anybody that's going to win this championship will have to beat Sebastian Bourdais. I believe that was absolutely correct.
Derek, I think the pace of the race was the most important thing this evening. The fact that these guys were absolutely flat out. The top 3 were absolutely exhausted at the end of this one. To win a Champ Car race this year, you need to be 100% fit, and the car needs to be up to the task as well. That was a great night of racing.
No question about that. And there is the winner, Sebastian Bourdais. We'll give you a look at the final results. And Tommy Kendall, we said we were approaching the halfway point of the season. I think, as Derek just said, Sebastian Bourdais is bound to be a potential spoiler in the second half.
I'll tell you what, when he is clicking, he appears to be almost unbeatable. Other weekends, he appears really ordinary. Tonight, he was exceptional. He and Paul Tracy head-to-head. Neither one gave an inch, neither team gave an inch. But on that one stint, Tracy's car not as quick to come up to speed. Bourdais poured it on. Just an incredible performance.
Paul Newman joins his men atop the podium. Appropriate time for us to say, for Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, and Calvin Fish, I'm Bob Varsha. So long from Cleveland, where Sebastian Bourdais has won the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland. CBS Sports coverage of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford, continues next Sunday at 12:30 Eastern at the Molson Champ Car Grand Prix of Toronto. We'll see you next week, live from Exhibition Place in Toronto, Canada, for more of the 2003 Champ Car season. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports. The gathering place and the important